Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's webinar. My name is Linda Williams. I am a Community Outreach and Training Manager with Consumer Action. And on behalf of the entire team at Consumer Action, welcome. It is great that we all can meet today to discuss the Affordable Connectivity Program, its benefits, and why it is so important. If you use the internet daily, streaming movies or playing games on gigabyte speed connection, it may seem a little hard for you to imagine a world where that's not possible. But it is a reality for many people right here in the United States. According to the 2019 census, as many as 30% of homes in 185 big cities around the country don't have broadband. Now, while there are several reasons why these homes are without broadband, two main reasons are cost and infrastructure. Not everyone can afford high speed internet service, and not every home is in an area with broadband service. So the question is, what do you think the impact is on those communities in 185 big cities that's without broadband? Do you believe that there's a need for digital equity? And if so, what the heck is digital equity? Is digital equity vital to educate all children in America? Remember when COVID hit and schools went virtual? What, what were they able to educate every child in America? Is the next frontier of healthcare equity dependent upon digital equity? Can digital equity help create jobs, help create small business? Can it improve our public safety? And the big question of the day is, can the Affordable Connectivity Program help those families in 185 cities across the U.S. get a step closer to digital equity? And if so, how? We're in for a treat today. Here to break it all down for us is Amina Fazlullah and Keyla Hernandez. Amina is the Senior Director of Equity Policy at Common Sense, and Kayla is the FCC's Associate Chief of Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division. So take that last sip of your coffee or your tea, break out your pen and paper, and get ready to take some notes because, as always, we're bringing the fire today. Now, before we get into the presentations, I need to go over a few housekeeping items and update you on what's happening at Consumer Action. The webinar is being recorded. It's a 90-minute webinar. You will receive a link to the PowerPoint slides used by our guest professionals today, and you should get that link no later than tomorrow afternoon. We love hearing from you. So at the end of our presentations, outreach trainer Nelson Santiago, he's going to facilitate a question and answer segment. This is where we get to hear from you. So if you have any questions for our guest professionals, find that question function on your screen and start writing down and typing in those questions. Send Nelson a ton of questions. At the end of the training, you will receive a short survey about today's webinar. We value your feedback as we work diligently to improve our service to you. So if you have a comment, a suggestion, or even a compliment, we would love to hear from you. So please complete that survey. Also, as a bonus for attending today, you will receive a certificate of completion. Now, before I go any further, I need to take a moment to thank our sponsor and update you on what's happening at Consumer Action. This webinar is being presented by Consumer Action with funding from AT&T, and we want to send a shout out to AT&T for helping us reach so many of you today. Now, some of you are wondering, what do we do at Consumer Action? Well, as it states right there on the screen, through education and advocacy, we fight for strong consumer rights and policies that promote fairness for all consumers, but especially for those underrepresented communities nationwide. At Consumer Action, we are proud of all of our work, but we are especially proud of our COVID-19 educational project that we put together. So when you're on our website, click on that little middle button, a little burgundy looking button, and you will land on our COVID-19 project page. There you will find a ton of resources that you can share with your client communities that will help them navigate the COVID-19 financial crisis that we are still very much in the middle of. Click on the words webinar and you'll land on our YouTube channel where you can review some of our past and very popular webinars. Now, another project that you need to know about, we have created several guides that you can use to help you raise awareness about low cost internet programs. For an example, our Lifeline and Affordable Connectivity Program Guide, it introduces your audience to two federal programs. Lifeline and the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, that offer discounts on home broadband and wireless data service for qualifying low income and moderate income families. Getting up to speed is another guide that we created. It's available as a download. Now, this fact sheet is going to explain more about broadband, including its importance, benefit, availability, and pricing. And again, it's free on our website as a download. Now, a companion to getting up to speed is the low income broadband plans. That's a companion to getting up to speed. It's a package of flyers that describe programs that offer low and moderate income households more affordable access to the internet. And of course, we created ACP guide for tribal land. Again, all of the guides are free as a download. They're on our website. Each available in 5 different languages. So when you're on our website, don't you dare leave without downloading one or all of the guides. Now let me pull out the roadmap and roadmap so that you'll know where we're headed today. At Consumer Action, we believe in making learning fun. So we open up each and every training by testing your knowledge on the topic of the training with our most popular game, How Much Do You Know? So today we have 4 true or false questions that's related to the Affordable Connectivity Program. Following the game, I will introduce you to our guest professionals in the order that they will be presenting. The question and answer segment, led by Nelson Santiago, will follow. I will come back, tell you how you can donate to Consumer Action, and wrap up. So let's get started with the game. This is how the game is played. We have 4 true or false questions. I will read the question. You would use the question function on the screen to answer the question. I will give you a few minutes, few seconds, not minutes, a few seconds to answer the questions. Then I will close the poll and we will take a look at the results and I will tell you if you're right or if you're wrong. Okay. So with that being said, let's roll out the first question. The Affordable Connectivity Program, ACP, will put a monthly subsidy of $30 or $75 if the household is on tribal land into consumers' bank accounts each month. Is that true or is that false? The ACP program will put a monthly subsidy of $30 or $75 if the household is on tribal land into the consumer's bank account each month. Is that true or is that false? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Okay. Let's close the poll and take a look at the results. 33% thinks that is true. 67% think that is false. Okay, while it is true that the ACP would provide a monthly discount on broadband services up to $30 per eligible household or $75 for each eligible household on tribal land. And it will also provide a one-time discount of $100 on a laptop, a table, or a desktop computer. No funds will be deposited into the consumer's bank account. Instead, the participating broadband service provider will receive the funds directly from the Affordable Connectivity Program. So if you said true, it's really false because it's not going into anyone's bank account. Okay, let's roll out the next question. This is a tricky question, so listen very carefully. Broadband service providers can use credit checks to determine a household eligibility to access bundle services. Is that true or is that false? Broadband service providers can use credit checks to determine a household eligibility to access bundle services. Is that true or false? Come on now, everybody jump in, answer the question. Couple more seconds. Okay, let's close the poll. Now, this is a little tricky question. We'll probably hear about this a little bit later from Caleb, but broadband service providers participating in the Affordable Connectivity Program may use a credit check to determine a household eligibility to access bundled services, so long as the credit check is used to determine eligibility to receive services that is not eligible for the Affordable Connectivity Benefit, and the household can receive broadband components of the bundle on a standalone, regardless of the credit check, meaning that the services that's offered by the ACP, they will be able to get that on the standalone, regardless to the credit check. It's a little tricky. I think Kayla will tell us a little bit more about it a little later. You're doing great. You're doing great. Let's move on to the next question. If you already receive Lifeline benefits, you will automatically be enrolled in the Affordable Connectivity Program, the ACP program. Is that true? Is that false? If you automatically enroll in Lifeline, you will be automatically enrolled in the ACP. Is that true or false? Come on, everybody jump in. Everybody jump in. Okay, let's close the poll and take a look at the results. 39% thinks it's true, 61% is saying it's false. That's false. Anyone who already participated in the FCC's Lifeline program automatically qualifies for the ACP and will not need to apply separately for the ACP or provide any new documents to prove eligible. However, they must opt into the ACP eligible plan offered by their current broadband company or otherwise request enrollment in the ACP. Did I answer that question for you? Okay, you're doing great. Let's move on to the next question, to the last question. The Lifeline program lowers the cost of phone and internet service for eligible consumers by $40 a month. Is that true or is that false? Come on, everyone, jump in. You know the answer. Jump in. It's still moving. Okay, let's close the poll. Take a look at the results. 51%, over half, thinks that is true. 49% thinks it's false. Actually, it's false. The FCC Lifeline program lowers the monthly cost of phone and internet service for eligible households, but only by up to $9.25 per month, up to $34.25 for residents on tribal land. You did a great job. Thank you for participating in the poll, and I hope you got some extra information here. Now, let me formally introduce you to our guest speakers. Our first speaker is Amina Fazlullah. She's a JD, and she is the Senior Director of Equity Policies in Common Sense DC office, where she works on a range of issues, including privacy, expanding access to technology, and digital well-being. Prior to joining Common Sense, Amina was a tech policy at Mozilla, where she worked to promote broadband connectivity in underserved communities around the world. Amina has worked with the Benton Foundation, the U.S. Public Interest Research Group, and for the Honorable Chief Judge James M. Rosenbaum of the United States District Court of Minnesota and the FCC. Amina, welcome back. The second speaker is Keyla Hernandez. Keyla has been the Associate Division Chief of the FCC's Consumer and Government Affairs Bureau since 2011. In this capacity, she provides strategic leadership with regards to planning, developing, and managing the division consumer-facing outreach efforts and agency-wide projects as assigned. Prior to joining the FCC in October 2007, Keyla was the Community Relations and Press Manager for the New York State Department of Health. She focused primarily on addressing the health concerns of all residents in the state of New York. Keyla received both a Bachelor of Business Administration with a concentration in Human Resource Management and a Master of Business Administration and Business Management from Pace University in New York. Keyla, welcome. Now, before I turn this presentation over to Amina, let me give her control. Amina, I have a question for you. Please, could you tell the audience um, what, when you hear the words ACP program, could you tell us what that means to you, and tell us a little bit about digital equity, and what that look like? You should have control, Amina.
All right. So about the Affordable Connectivity Program, I mean, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just excitement and relief. Like, this is an incredible moment for anyone who's been working on digital divide issues and advocating on behalf of low-income people. The cost of connecting to the internet is a bigger and bigger portion of everyone's budget these days, and it's incredible to have a federal program that offers relief to consumers and is long term. We've never had anything like that before, so this is a really important moment. And everything is still on the table, so we got to make sure that we show up on behalf of our clients and on behalf of consumers who are eligible for ACP and make sure that they are able to sign up. Because if Congress and the FCC see that ACP isn't getting taken up, next time Congress decides to whether or not they want to fund or keep up the program, it could get minimized. And so it's a funny thing to say as we're introducing something just months after it's been created, but I want to put it on everyone's radar how important it is to demonstrate that this is something we actually want and need for our clients and our communities. So let me just move on. So what I wanted to kind of discuss is like why we need the Affordable Connectivity Program. Why do we need to have support for people to connect to the internet? And a lot of folks here probably already understand the why, but I did want to get into some of the details because we have an opportunity to guide people in terms of how they use this really important resource, the Affordable Connectivity Program, and the discount it offers. And they'll have a range of options. And so we want to make sure people are maximizing what they do with those dollars and get something that's actually going to enable them to effectively use the internet for all the things we want them to be able to have access to. At Common Sense, we advocate on behalf of kids and families and students, and our focus is on kids and families in tech. So a lot of the information I have is a little bit more kid and family focused, but I think it still relates to larger populations because the same is true even if we're not looking at just students. What we found in some of our research the early days of 2020 was that about 50 million K12 public students, when they had to learn remotely, only about 15 to 16 million students were in the K12 digital divide. Now, whether or not they're learning remotely, whether or not they're back in school, this represents the persistent homework gap or student digital divide. So there's about 16 million kids who will likely need support to be able to do their homework, to effectively access educational resources, to explore different concepts in STEM from home, to do all the great things we want them to be able to do. And there's a lot of funding that flowed, but all of that was time limited and related to the emergency. And so many of these kids are going to go back into the digital divide. In addition to children lacking access, we also found that teachers, So adults that are serving these students are also lacking access to technology. And that's not just true for teachers, it's true for special ed support folks, like across the education network. There are lots of people whose income doesn't allow them to access technology at levels that actually enable professional development and help them stand up all sorts of tools around digital curriculum. And so this number, the 300,000 teachers that we found, about 400,000 teachers lacking connectivity or devices, that's probably larger within the sort of larger educational professional community. And that's just one community of professionals, right? There are lots of other adults who likely don't make enough to be able to connect effectively either for their work or even for their personal use. And what we also found was that this digital divide exists in all 50 states. So no state was immune to this. Even in the states that had the smallest evidence of a student digital divide, 1 in 4 students still didn't have adequate internet access or connection to a device. So that means that even the best states are still falling behind. And to get to your earlier question, Linda, what is digital equity? So I took this definition from the National Digital Inclusion Alliance's definition, and you know, you can take a look at it, but I think what it means in sort of a nutshell is that you want to make sure that everybody has access to the technology that they need for full participation in society. And we know that, that digital equity, making sure you have full access to the technology you need, is important to all sorts of aspects of life, right? So it could be civic, it could be cultural, it could be family, right? Like relating, being able to connect with family members that might be far away, employment, to be able to address education, and then just even essential services. So, right, if you want to sign up for a vaccine, if you want to be able to do contact tracing, if you want to be able to participate in telemedicine, all of these things are going to run through technology, and having that access at home makes it easier for you to access all those services. And I already sort of talked about why it's important, but doctor's visits, banking, job hunts, entertainment, access to the legal system, which we saw a lot of courts going virtual during the early days of COVID. That is a huge barrier in terms of access to the legal system if you don't have technology at home and you weren't able to participate fully within the legal process. Also, social services are increasingly online, or you have fewer hours to be able to get to a brick and mortar location and speak to somebody in person to do whatever you need to do with social services. So it's really important we have access. Also, costs go down when you connect a household. So if you want to have, video conference calls with family, watch movies, watch high quality children's programming, view sports, or continue to do job training. All of these costs come down when a household has access to high-speed internet. There are all sorts of things you are able to do from home. You don't have to pay for transportation. You could cut the cord on cable. There's a whole host of things that you're enabled if you have high-speed broadband or high-speed internet coming to your home. And a fast internet connection that allows you to do stuff, meaning without bandwidth or data limitations, and the appropriate devices, plus the know-how to use it. This is a necessity now. It's not a luxury anymore. There are expectations from employers. If you want to participate in government, if you want to be able to access certain types of healthcare services, all of these things require not just the connection, but the level of connection, right? Robust level of connection devices and the know-how. And of course, not everybody has access to all of those things. And so many tribal, rural, suburban, and urban communities across the country have been left behind. And this is just one example of the benefits of actually investing in connecting folks. We found that if students remain in the K12 Digital Divide, they'll have a lower GPA. They're estimated then to have a lower annual income, and that results in a lower annual GDP loss for the entire country, about 22 to 33 billion dollars a year in annual GDP loss, plus all sorts of additional public costs. So it's probably a little shy on what the real cost is to the country when you leave students behind in the digital divide. And of course, those numbers grow if you start thinking about adults. And then, of course, I spoke to this earlier, but the digital divide disproportionately impacts rural communities, Black, Latinx, and Native American households. Much of this is related to the fact that there was historical digital redlining in a lot of communities, and that there are attempts now, I think, in process to be able to dismantle that. But it's important to know that that existed or that exists, and so it's really important even more for advocates, consumer advocates, to be aware that a lot of folks who may not have access to broadband or haven't been paying for broadband, in part aren't paying for it because they either don't have quality service available within their community, right? They have networks that haven't been upgraded. So they're looking at the cost benefit and saying, like, why should I pay for this thing that's super expensive? Oftentimes it's very expensive in these communities, and they're not getting really high quality service. So it's really important to be able to lift up their stories, but also make sure that they're fully supported with a program like ACP so that they might have a range of other options beyond the traditional ones that they've had in their community. And what do you need to be able to actually make all of this work? So again, this is like from the lens of distance learning, but I think it's applicable to lots of different uses. So like telemedicine or job training or remote work. You need to have speeds that are sufficient. So by speeds, I mean broadband speeds or internet access speeds, so that, our estimation a few years back was about 200 Mbps down, so that's a download speed, and 10 Mbps up. That second number, that bottom number, 10 Mbps up, that's an important number because that means you get to be a creator, you get to participate in two-way real-time communication, like video conferencing that's uninterrupted and undisrupted. These are important things because you could have some experience at lower levels of service that could be okay, but if you have multiple users at the same time, or you are trying to do something that would really suffer if there is a disruption, for example, video conferencing, or video conferencing for your 7-year-old to engage with their math tutor. When you have a disruption, chances are the learning is lost for the day or the hour, whatever you had. So it's really important you have those high speeds to the home and that high upload speed or higher upload speed. And then, of course, you want to make sure you've got an appropriate device. Doing a lot of this stuff, job training, telemedicine, education, it's okay on a phone, but there are a lot of applications you can't do. So it's important that you have a real device to be able to do this. And then last, I just wanted to let people know that we are working on a campaign to get the word out on ACP. So we are investing in a media campaign in various regions and cities where there are ACP enrollment partners on the ground. We want to lift them up. So we want to get everybody's awareness just generally on ACP up, make sure that people understand it's a program that's as solid as a program like SNAP, but we also want to direct traffic to folks who are doing enrollment so that we're boosting those partners on the ground and hopefully are a bit of a force multiplier. So we'll have a media campaign that'll include a mix of TV, radio, online, outdoor, like bus shelters, maybe leave behind materials, flyers, cards, or grocery bags in the communities where we have these ACP enrollment partners. And the partners are folks who are providing live, in-person or over the phone, ACP enrollment support, or standing up ACP enrollment events. So please reach out to me. I think my email is probably somewhere in one of these decks. I would love to hear from organizations who are doing that type of work and where you're doing that work so that we can make sure to consider partnering with you and lift up the work that you're doing. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Amina. And we will make sure that her contact information is in the materials that you will be receiving tomorrow. So let me turn this over now to Ms. Hernandez. But before, Kayla, before you get into your presentation, I have a question for you. Can you describe for our audience the difference between the EBB, the Emergency Broadband Program, and the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity Program, and give us the ins and outs on the ACP? You should have control of the screen. You want to try moving the mouse?
I am trying. I think I see like the cursor moving.
Okay. You should have control. Yeah, I'm gonna take it away from Amina. Okay, you should have control now. Okay, try using the buttons at the bottom until you can get it going.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do.
I'll move it for you. Okay, to say next slide. Go ahead.
So hello everyone, I'm Keyla Hernandez-Ulloa from the Federal Communications Commission. I'm going to be talking about the Affordable Connectivity Program, but to the question, the difference between Emergency Broadband Benefit and the Affordable Connectivity Program, there's a lot of similarities, but there are some major differences. And I will talk about the differences. The Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, or EBB for short, was a temporary program that provided households, eligible households, up to $50 per month off their internet monthly bill. Congress had given the FCC $3.2 billion to manage this program. And we had always said during our presentations that the program would last either until the money ran out or the COVID-19 pandemic is over. That was the reasoning behind, a lot of the reasoning behind this program, that it was another government program established during the COVID-19 pandemic. And as you can see, pandemic has not really been declared over, but now we have another program, the Affordable Connectivity Program. There was a big difference also in terms of the eligibility requirements. Most of the eligibility requirements for EBB and now ACP are quite the same, but if consumers had enrolled and were eligible for the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program because of a substantial loss of income, whether they were laid off or furloughed, for example, or were participating in a provider's COVID-19 program, these are no longer qualifications or eligibility requirements for Affordable Connectivity Program. There was a transition period from EBB to ACP. EBB ended on December 31st of 2021. The transition period was between January 1st and March 1st of this year, 2020. Most of the people that qualified under the two eligibility requirements that I just mentioned, the substantial loss of income or provider's COVID-19 program, and were no longer eligible for ACP, should have received from USAC, the Universal Service Administrative Company, email or some kind of notice letting them know what next steps they would need to do to enroll in ACP. And also their provider would have let them know that, you know, this program, they had 2 months of EBB, January, the coverage January 1st through March 1st, but then they had to take additional steps. So where does this leave us with the Affordable Connectivity Program? Well, I'm going to be talking about what the benefit is, who is eligible, and how households can apply. This program is longer term. There is no end date, and Congress has given the FCC $14.2 billion to run this program. One of the big differences with this program is that the monthly amount is less. It's now $30 per month, but again, it is a longer term program. So what is this benefit? It is a Federal Communications Commission program that provides discount on monthly broadband bills for qualifying low-income households, where the eligible households can receive up to $30 per month discount for broadband services. And for households that are on tribal lands, that benefit goes up to $75 per month. Not all service providers are participating in this program. Amongst those that are, some are offering an additional benefit of a one-time discount for $100 off of a laptop, desktop, computer, or tablet purchased through that participating provider, as long as the consumer pays at least $10, but no more than $50 co-pay towards the purchase of that device. One important thing to note here, again, going back to the issue about the differences between EBB and ACP, is that yes, this discount existed before, but if a consumer was eligible for EBB and received a device under that program, they are no longer eligible to receive a device under the Affordable Connectivity Program. And that is because both programs are one benefit per household, one device per household. So we talk a lot about households in this program, and I want to step back and define what a household is. For the purposes of this program, a household is a group of people who live together and share money or expenses. They do not have to be related. If somebody, let's say you live with someone under the same roof, but you're not sharing expenses, or you're sharing expenses with someone and money, but you live under separate roofs, as I say, you are considered two or more households. Now, a household doesn't always qualify for this program because of the head of household. Sometimes there's what's called an eligible dependent. Most of the time, it is a child in the household, could be another adult who does meet the eligibility criteria for this program. The head of household sometimes have to answer questions when applying for the Affordable Connectivity Program about the household. And the Universal Service Administrative Company, or USAC for short, which manages the application process, has a household worksheet that is available to assist in determining household eligibility. So I skipped over. Here we go. So again, just examples of households. It could be a married couple who live together, and even if both are eligible for the program, they must share one ACP benefit. And an example of multiple households could be if there's a student who receives a federal Pell Grant and lives alone in a different household than his or her parents, both the student and their parents are considered separate households and can receive their own benefit as long as the student and the parents are eligible for this program. So now we come to eligibility criteria. Most households can apply and are eligible if the household income is at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. And the great thing is that within the application, whether you fill it out online or you fill it out, you download and print out a paper copy, there is a section that helps you determine, because it has a chart where it starts letting you know where or if you fall in at or below 200% of the federal poverty guidelines. But there are other eligibility criteria. If, for example, someone in the household participates in an assistance program such as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, receives Medicaid benefits, federal public housing assistance, supplemental security income, which is managed by the Social Security Administration. There is the Women, Infant, and Children's Nutrition Program, which is called WIC, and I know I'm not giving you the full title because it is a long one, but it's WIC for short, or Lifeline. These are all eligibility criteria. I will go back to Lifeline in a moment. If, for example, there are households that are on tribal lands and participate in specific travel programs such as the Bureau of Indian Affairs General Assistance, Tribal Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, or Tribal TANF, or the Food Distribution Program on Indian Reservations, these all qualify households. Where there is a child in K-12 that participates in the National School Lunch or School Breakfast Program, and this includes community eligibility provision schools, that also qualifies the household. If there's someone in the household who receives a Pell Grant for the current award year, or someone who receives Veterans Pension and Survivors Benefit, all of these qualify. And I do want to mention the eligibility criteria for participating providers' existing low-income program. This is a little different than what was the Emergency Broadband Benefit program. There are still a lot of existing COVID-19 programs, but this particular bullet towards the end of this slide really talks to specific eligibility criteria for participating providers' existing low-income program. And because I'm with the FCC, I really can't mention a specific program, but as an example, it could be if a household is eligible for a provider's low-income internet service program, and those usually run and somewhere along the lines of perhaps $9.95 a month to about $14.95 a month, depending on the provider. Some providers have expanded and increased the information, and they have expanded on some of these programs. For the most part, these are the type of programs that we are referring to here. So I want to mention a little bit about Lifeline. It's another federal program that lowers the monthly cost of phone and internet. Eligible consumers can receive up to $9.25 off their monthly bill. That benefit goes up to $34.25 if the household is on tribal lands. And the great thing about Lifeline is that Lifeline has been around since the 1980s. I believe it's 1985, and there is, again, no deadline for this program to end unless Congress says otherwise. And another thing about the Lifeline program is that, like ACP, it has many of the same eligibility requirements. And as was mentioned before in the quiz, even if you qualify and are enrolled in Lifeline, if you do not opt in with a provider to actually have them enroll you, if they're also an ACP provider, or if you're eligible for one but not the other, those are kind of things we let consumers know about. So again, with Lifeline, a lot of the same things as ACP. Supplemental nutrition assistance program, supplemental security income as examples. The big difference is that households who are considering and applying for Lifeline and are eligible at using their income, they would have to be at or below 135% of the federal poverty guidelines. And like the ACP application, the Lifeline application also has a section that helps consumers determine if and where they fall within these guidelines. So now I'm getting to the part of enrollment. There are 2 steps to enroll in their program, but I always like to say there's really 3. Consumers that have access to the internet can go to affordableconnectivity.gov to complete the application online, or they can download a copy and a paper copy, fill it out. It has instructions on where to mail. For consumers that don't have access to the internet, they can call the ACP Support Center managed by USAC. That number is 877-384-2575. And this is I'm going now to mention the step that I think is an additional step that consumers should keep in mind when they are doing this. Before contacting a preferred participating provider, stepping out of my FCC role, my recommendation would be that a consumer who has filled out the application, wait till they get confirmation that they are eligible to enroll in the benefit. They will get a confirmation number, and that number is really important because a lot of providers will ask for that number when they are enrolling the consumer or the household to receive the ACP benefit. So once a consumer gets this information, they can contact their preferred participating provider to select a plan and have the discount applied to their monthly bill. If a consumer talks to a provider and that provider is not participating in the program, the FCC has a list of participating providers in our ACP hub, which is available at fcc.gov/ACP. Not only will you find participating providers there, but you will also find information about the qualifications for this program, our consumer FAQ, our outreach toolkit, and so much more information that consumers can use and share with others who are eligible for this program. There are some providers that may have an alternative application that they will ask you to complete. That application has been approved by the FCC. It's just additional information and that the provider can have to enroll the consumer. Because I'm with the Consumer and Governmental Affairs Bureau and Consumer Affairs and Outreach Division, we talk a lot about consumer protections. And like a lot of our consumer-facing programs, ACP also has consumer protections. As you can see here on your screen, I am going to just mention a few that are really important. The FCC has a dedicated process for filing ACP complaints. Consumers who have access online can go to consumercomplaints.fcc.gov and fill out the form online. Consumers can also call our toll-free number 888-225-5322 to file a complaint. Under this program, some other consumer protections are ensuring that consumers are not liable for early termination fees. If, for the example, they're with one ACP provider, but they want to enroll with another one, perhaps they're moving from their community and the current provider does not cover the area that they're moving to is an example. Or, for example, if a consumer determines that he or she needs a connected device, but the current provider is not offering it because they're not participating in that part of the program, that's another example. They would have to consider, do I want to switch providers to a provider that can offer me the device? Because again, device has to be purchased through the provider that is also giving the household the benefit. And the last one I'd like to just mention is that consumers are empowered to choose a service plan that best meets their needs. And this kind of falls into preventing consumers from being forced into a more expensive or less expensive, lower quality or higher quality plan. The provider must offer the consumer who is eligible for the benefit the same plans that they are offering consumers that are not eligible for this program but is part of their plans. So it's a lot to think about there as a consumer. I'm up to the part where I'm going to ask everyone to please consider becoming an outreach partner. And what that means is you're going to be sharing information about this program with eligible consumers in your community. The FCC really appreciates partners to share this information. I can say that our host organization today is a partner and has been sharing information about the previous program, EBB, and now this program. You can do so by requesting a speaker, sending an email to acpspeakers@fcc.gov. You can go on our website, fcc.gov/ACP, and download the outreach toolkit, which I'm going to talk about in a few moments. And if you want to become a partner, not only to share information about ACP, but other consumer-facing issues that the FCC covers, please send an email to outreach@fcc.gov. So our outreach toolkit, wonderful toolkit for consumers that want to share information, want something short to share with their community. This outreach toolkit, also available at fcc.gov/ACP, contains all the information that you see here. I'll just name a few. There are social media images that you can share, a fact sheet that is a one-pager available not only in English and Spanish, but about 11 other languages. There are videos for people who need information in American Sign Language. And for those that are blind or visually impaired, we also have audio PSAs about the program that are very informative and contains all the information that a consumer may need to consider applying. I am coming to the closure of my presentation, but I want to just remind everyone that the FCC has a lot of resources on this program that you are welcome to download. They are all free for organizations to use, and some are customizable where you can put your logo or information about your organization when sharing information. And all this is available fcc.gov/ACP. The ACP Support Center managed by USAC is at 877-384-2575. We also can send emails to acpsupport@usac.org. We have information for consumers that need it in accessible formats if they send email to fcc504@fcc.gov. And I know I'm sharing a lot of information here, but if you have any additional questions that we don't get to today, please send an email to acpinfo@fcc.gov. So thank you so much, and I look forward to answering questions.
Great. Thank you so much for all of that great information. Let me move ahead and turn it over to Nelson for questions. If you haven't put your question in the bar yet, send it to Nelson quickly so we can get to it. Nelson, you have a lot of questions for our audience, for our speakers.
Yes, we do have questions, Linda. Can you hear me okay?
Hear you just fine.
Well, great. The first question I'll throw out, and both speakers are welcome to answer it or answer together. The first question is this program different than other programs that, for example, Xfinity, AT&T, and other internet providers are offering? Say other low-cost programs that may be offered versus the ACP.
I'm happy to jump in real quick. The one big difference about this is a program that is offered by the federal government. And so you can use the ACP discount with any provider in your area that is participating in the ACP program. So you have a lot of choices potentially, and it's long-term. So those programs may be short-term, may be related to like a marketing window or a merger concession, could have like changing rates and things like that. This is like $30 no matter what, and then you can use that, except for on tribal lands where you have more, and you can use that towards any participating provider in your area.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and oh, sorry, this is
Keyla. Please go ahead.
Yes, so I'd also like to add that is absolutely, if you're eligible for the benefit, you can apply it. I would recommend to consumers that they look at the list of providers, because sometimes even though a provider is offering a low cost plan, they may not be participating in ACP, and so when the consumer goes to that provider, so it's good for the consumer to know ahead of time. And like I said, I can't really mention, but some or most of the providers that were mentioned by the consumer will probably have a low cost plan where you can apply the ACP benefit to.
Great, thank you. And then somebody is asking, just for clarification, are you able to apply for Lifeline and ACP for both? And do you have to apply for each program separately?
So I will take that one to Amina, please feel free. So the great thing about this program is that you can have both, as long as you're eligible for both Lifeline and the Affordable Connectivity Program, you can definitely have both. If you are already enrolled in Lifeline, it's good, and again, I'm stepping out of my SC role more for a general information. If you're already in Lifeline and you would like to enroll in the Affordable Connectivity Program and you're already eligible, it is something that, again, talk to your current provider to see if they can enroll you in the program, because you're not, even if you're eligible for both, you must opt in with a provider. The provider can't just enroll you in the program without telling you so. That's one thing that the consumer can consider. And the other side to that also is, if you're eligible for both but have neither program, it has been recommended by USAC in other presentations that I have been on with them to first apply for Lifeline. That way your information is already available in what is called the National Verifier, and that makes it just much easier when you either contact your provider that's participating in the program to help you enroll, or when you fill out the application for this program.
Great, thank you, Kayla. We do have a question here. There was this discussion during the webinar about limitations on devices, or in terms of the benefit for the device. The question here is, what if the previous device was 3G and not compatible with 5G, since most 3G devices will be shut off automatically, for example, I think by December in some cases. Does that give you an extra benefit if you need to switch devices?
As long as the device was not previously acquired through the Emergency Broadband Benefit program, then that household that is applying for the Affordable Connectivity Program can definitely talk to a participating provider that is offering the device and discuss that with them. Where the limit comes is, if you received it from the previous program, you cannot apply for a device now, and it's only one per household. So as an example, if there are 2 people in the household and both need a device, you can only get 1 device under the Affordable Connectivity Program.
Okay, thank you. And then somebody's asking here about whether providers will be notifying individuals that they have to request continuance of service. So either for renewal or for people who are on EBB, in terms of continuing the service from year to
year. So this is Kayla again. So and that actually has 2 parts there. So if the consumer was enrolled in the EBB and no longer qualifies because they either applied using a substantial loss of income, or part of a COVID-19, already receiving COVID-19 program benefits, then that consumer should have been advised by their provider and USAC for any changes. Now, if there's someone in the audience who fit one of these 2 requirements and either did not receive a letter or received a letter but didn't move forward for enrolling in the Affordable Connectivity Program, please call that toll-free number or send an email. The toll-free number 877-384-2575, or you can send an email to acpsupport@usac.org to just find out what the status is, and you ask them what the status is of where you are in terms of the benefit. It could be that a consumer did fill out an application, did receive the confirmation, but you're given 3 months period to enroll with a participating provider. If you don't, then then you'll have to reapply again. In terms of continuing to the program with Lifeline, yes, there is and then the provider lets you know when you have to kind of recertify is not the right word, but kind of re-enroll or to confirm that you're still eligible for the program and continue, you want to receive the benefit. With the Affordable Connectivity Program right now, not necessarily do you have to update your information every year, but there are exceptions. For example, if you are moving from one neighborhood to another, you will need to let USAC know and the provider, especially if it's not serving your area. You will, but specifically USAC, you will need to let them know that you have had a change of address. And again, that you can call them 877-384-2575 or send an email with that information. If your circumstances change and you are no longer eligible, I'll bring out an example that has come up in several presentations. There was a household that qualified because the child K-12, but the child is now, or well, probably just graduated high school. So that household is technically not eligible. It's something you would need to let USAC know. If the student receives a Pell Grant for what is now going to be considered the next school year, then they can definitely apply for the benefit. If they're living in the household with parents, then yes. But those are the circumstances where you would definitely need to know, let USAC know that your circumstances have changed.
Great, thank
And
you.
I do want to just mention one quick thing, which is, you know, a lot of folks sort of see the Lifeline benefit and think that they might just apply ACP directly to what they currently have with Lifeline. That's one way of doing it. But the nice thing about the ACP is it is substantially more than Lifeline, and what it enables is a service to the home, an internet service, a high-speed internet service to the home. And if you do that and you already have, say, wireless plans through Lifeline or other programs, you are able to offload your usage onto your home network, right? So there's a benefit to your mobile usage because then you can use your Wi-Fi inside of the house that is paid for by the ACP. And like I mentioned before in my earlier slides as well, is if you do choose to use the ACP for fixed broadband or at least a home broadband service or home internet service, then you would be able to think about potentially cutting the cord from an expensive cable package and sign up individually for, you know, video subscription services if you chose to, and really only pick, you know, a la carte what you really wanted. And that can be substantially cheaper than what it costs to have even the most basic cable package. So while it can seem like easy to just sort of say, yes, let's just like apply this to my existing Lifeline provider, there's value in helping guide the ACP eligible folks through thinking through what they want to do with this new benefit.
Great, thank you, Amina. And then here's a question that maybe you may each have part of the answer. Somebody is asking whether you talked about requesting a speaker from the FCC, Kayla. Someone's asking if you might have also Chinese-speaking presenters. And then Amina, you had a slide about sort of the breakdown by ethnicity of who is without broadband, whether you might know of a source of stats about Asian Americans.
Yeah, I can take a look, and if I get their contact information, I can forward them info that I find.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, and with regards now to the FCC presenting in Chinese, we currently do not have someone that speaks Chinese, but our materials are available in simplified and traditional Chinese. And if the person would like to make a request for that information, please send an an email to ACP info, and we will work with you to get that to your community.
Great, thank you. And then another question is about if in your area, whoever the provider is, so for example, be it AT&T or anyone, is only offering, say, speed up to 25 megabits per second, what can be done what can consumers do to try to get upgraded speeds? Or is anything being done about that?
If that is, this is Kayla again, if that is the issue, so a consumer would need to file a complaint with the FCC and then to go through the complaint process. So that would not necessarily be an ACP complaint, but you can go to consumercomplaints.fcc.gov, or if you don't remember, because that's very long, if you just Google FCC consumer complaints, you can file a complaint online, or you can call the 888-225-5322 number.
Great, thank you, Kayla. And since you just gave out a number, someone did ask to repeat the number. I think that was for signing up for enrollment. Did you have a separate number for that?
Sure. So the USAC can be reached 877-384-2575. Our complaints line, we also have general operators that give information at that number that I mentioned for the FCC, 888-225-5322.
Excellent, thank you. A couple of people, you both mentioned that you were looking for enrollment partners. One question we had is, how do we find out who the enrollment partners that are already in place in Massachusetts? How do you find out who are the ACP enrollment partners in Massachusetts? And then how can an organization become an enrollment partner?
So for me, it's for Common Sense, it's just a matter of reaching out to us. We're considering different regions to move right now we're just testing our ACP outreach campaign, potentially in Arizona and in California. We'd love to look at Massachusetts or other states or other regions or other cities. So just reach out directly to me at afazlullah@commonsense.org, and we can discuss what partnership looks like.
Yeah, and for the FCC, we actually, we would need permission to list our partners, but we do have partners in Massachusetts. I'll say that the majority of them are from libraries, including the state librarian. But there are other organizations that we work with. If you want to be a partner, please send an email to outreach@fcc.gov. The great thing is that everyone who joins outreach@fcc.gov, not only do we send you information, but we also have our monthly consumer call. It really was a phone call, but now we have it online via Teams, where we have monthly gatherings, and partners, whoever's available, can attend. These are the second Tuesday of every month. An email goes out just inviting everyone with a link to how to log on and the agenda for that particular presentation. We did not have a June call. If anyone here has already participates, and we may not have a July call just because it falls too close to the July 4th holiday, but we definitely plan to have calls, resume that. And again, it's the second Tuesday of every month from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. Send an email to outreach@fcc.gov if you'd like to be added to that list.
Is that it for questions, Nelson? I think
No, we have more questions here. Sorry about that. I was on mute. I was just going to say there is a lot of interest there for partnering. Somebody here just mentioned that they are a financial services provider, and broadband and device access is an issue for many of the financial services customers. So they definitely want to support the program and are going to want to talk about ideas for cross-sector partnership. Not sure if there's anything additional you have on that, or you just welcome them to contact you, as you already said.
This is Kayla again. Yes, please send an email to outreach@fcc.gov. We would love to partner.
Excellent, thank you. And then also, is there a website where you can easily download a printable application for the ACP?
Yes, you can go to affordableconnectivity.gov, and when you go, and I'm actually going to verbally walk you through where it says there should be a tab that says either how to apply, and then you click on that. Towards the middle of that page, you'll see a blue button that says apply, and that will lead you to the online application. But right below that blue button, there is an alternative that says if you would like to mail in, you can click. It is in PDF, and it'll just help you download. So again, affordableconnectivity.gov is that website where you can go and find the application. But if you can't, please go to fcc.gov/ACP. We actually have an apply now button, which leads you right back to the USAC website.
Excellent, thank you. Somebody's saying that they have usually enrolled clients with SafeLink. Is this the same as ACP? Is anyone from?
I will say, I believe SafeLink is a provider. But please, the person who's asking, please, if that is not the case, I believe SafeLink is a provider, a participating provider, perhaps in ACP. I don't have the list of providers in front of me, so forgive me for that. But a provider can offer the Affordable Connectivity Program, but it would not be the Affordable Connectivity Program. This is a separate federal Communications Commission or federal government program. So I hope that answers that one.
Yeah, is there a place, someone is also asking, is there a place to see a complete list of participating providers?
Yes, there is, and there's the FCC's list. If you go to fcc.gov/ACP, towards the middle of the page, you'll see something that says participating providers. When you click on that, it'll lead you to the FCC's list. The great thing about that is that if you're also interested in a participating provider that offers a device, they'll have a check mark next to their name, which is under the column offers a connected device. So, and the FCC's list is all the providers in your state. USAC on its website, affordableconnectivity.gov, there is a tab that says companies near me. That under that tab, you can search for providers in your area, either using your 5-digit zip code, or you can put in your city and state, and it'll show you all the providers that are in the area. And while it doesn't really state, the last time I looked, it doesn't really state like who's offering the connected device. It's still good because it tells you who the providers are within your area that you can speak to about enrolling in this program.
Great, thank you. Someone says that they were looking at a list of providers in their area and wanted more information about fixed versus mobile.
Yeah, so so fixed versus mobile, there are lots of different ways to get internet service to your home. Fixed typically means a wired connection to your home. It could be fiber, it could be DSL, it could be cable. If it's mobile, it means that it's using a wireless connection to get to your home, typically. And so there are upsides and downsides to choosing between the two. Depending on where you live, a mobile option may or may not work for you because of like the way your building is built. The signal has to travel through, the walls of your building, or wherever the like actual signal is coming from. It could be like sort of far away, depending on how sort of densely populated that mobile network is in your community. So it could be a good option, but advertised speeds can vary greatly depending on some of those details, and your experience may differ depending on the details of what your actual home is like. A fixed option, because it comes directly into your home, eliminates those issues with like a signal going through the building, or it's a little bit different in terms of quality of service to your home, because again, depends on how far they built up the network, how close sort of the robust parts of the network are to your home or to your client's home. And so that'll let you know that'll change your experience in terms of like the quality of the service. But typically fixed is going to be relatively close to what is advertised. But again, it can differ depending on how they build the network. And then, the other advantage is that, fixed has the potential to be upgraded in a way that's sort of more easily done. So, there's a lot of money that's flowing into broadband networks through the infrastructure package and through other programs. And so there'll be a lot of changes to fixed broadband networks in a lot of different communities. Some of them will be using mobile networks to stand up new networks, but some of them will be upgrading communities that didn't have a fixed wireline network to the home with, say, fiber or something very robust. So a fixed option could be a really good option, not only offering you, a quality of service that doesn't necessarily deal with interference from your walls and things like that, not your interference, but issues with things like the building materials in your building, but also it could be something that will be easily upgraded for years to come, which can mean that you'll have lower prices down the road and better quality of service.
In terms of the mobile or either fixed, how easy is it when if clients move often? How easy is it to take this with you? Are there any recommendations around that?
Yeah, so it should be, like any other utility. It's something that would, you would call up your provider and give them a different address. Obviously, if you move, you're going to have to do that, as Kayla just said, to notify the ACP that you're changing your location. So you're going to need to tell that to your provider. So if you move frequently, maybe a mobile service will feel like a better option because you won't necessarily have to maybe return equipment like a modem, or although you might still have equipment, but it may be something that like feels easier to set up, and you may have more sort of coverage depending on where you move to next. But that's all relative. Like, fixed providers are just as prolific as mobile broadband providers. So ultimately you'll still have to notify your provider and the ACP of your address change, whether or not it's fixed or mobile, and they'll let you know whether or not that service is available in your new address, regardless of it's fixed or mobile. So people should really choose the most robust option that's available to whatever address they're at.
Excellent, thank you. And then I don't know if anyone does have a link to the PDF of an application. If you can put it in the chat or give it to us and we can send it out with our follow-up email. Someone's already tried to download that that application was having trouble. So if you don't have it now, we'll try to include it in a follow-up email. We'll get it. We do have a specific question here on, let's see. Yeah, the question is, if the person applying for ACP, say it's the husband who's applying, but the SNAP benefit proof letter shows the SNAP is under the wife's name, but both couples' names are listed on the proof letter. Will the husband be rejected from ACP?
I can start on that one. No, well, it's only one benefit per household. So in this case, it sounds like if the husband is the head of household, is applying as the head of household, the wife who is the one receiving the benefit would be the eligible dependent. And there is room, part of the application where you can put the information for the eligible dependent. But the household wouldn't get denied as long as one person in the household meets one of the eligibility criteria.
Great, thank you. And then there's just a little bit of a follow-up here. We talked earlier about, the 3G going to 5G. Somebody's asking why a person would not be eligible for assistance with a new device if the new device they previously received from the same program is no longer viable to use for school homework, for example. So if the device that EBB got you just stops working, why are you not eligible for another one? Or is there any room to explore that more somehow?
Well, that is how it was written. So it's not the FCC, but that's what Congress had given us in the rules. That said, a consumer can definitely file a complaint, and it won't necessarily be a complaint, but that is how we at the FCC take in comments from consumer too. I don't think there is anything open, but I could check and then email Ms. Williams later if I find that there is something open where the public can actually submit a comment. And that's through our electronic comment filing system, or called ECFS. But yeah, that's it's really based on how Congress wrote the laws and gave it to us to execute. And again, I will look to see if there's something available, but at the very least, definitely should file a complaint. And I want to step back, because yes, we call them file a complaint, but it's a great way for consumers to also obtain information. And when you go to if you have access to the internet and go to the consumer complaints page, we also have articles and a lot of different information on a lot of different topics that may also help. But again, go to that website, or if not, you can call the 888-225-5322 number. And in this case, because it is an ACP question, you can send that information and that question to acpinfo@fcc.gov.
Excellent, thank you. And then is there somewhere to find the current poverty level to see if you are at 135% of the poverty level? And if you have a website, if you could provide it slowly so people can write it down.
I do not have that in front of me, but yes, there actually is a website that you can look for the federal poverty guidelines, and I will share that right after this. And the chart that you see within the application is very, very similar to the same chart that you will see on the website.
Excellent. Yeah, if you get it to us, we can include it in the follow-up email. And then just the last question, I'll move on. If there are other questions afterwards, just get them to us, and we will try to get you answers from our wonderful speakers. People are just wondering more, a lot of excitement about partnering. Someone's just asking, so what is involved if you become a partner? What might be required? how much time, or any preview on that? And that'll be the last question. Thank you.
I'll start with regards to how the FCC manages that. Time is what is available to you. So you stay on our list. Once you give us permission to put you on our contacts list, you stay on our list. You can share information. If 6 months down the line you are having an event, you can definitely download information from the FCC website, or you can send an email to us at outreach@fcc.gov. We can help with printing materials. We have limited runs, but the good thing is that if you give us enough notice, advance notice, we can definitely help with that. Partners, again, get that monthly email inviting you to the monthly partner call. And what we also do is we send information about upcoming events from the FCC, whether they're webinars, whether they're panel presentations and such. So it's a variety of things. We had a newsletter that we had. Right now we're trying to re-up that to share information, so everyone as a partner would get a link to that information, but we also have it on our outreach fcc.gov/outreach page where anybody can access it. But if you're on our list, you get it a few hours before it gets posted. But those are all the ways, and we're open to other ways of partnering too, whether it's a joint email blast, attending an event, you attending one of our events. There's a lot of things that can be done, and I will stop there.
Partners with Common Sense is a little bit different. We're hoping to roll out a campaign that goes region by region or city by city, state by state. Like I said, we're in pilot phase right now. We're trying to sort of dial in what are the right materials and what are the right types of advertising materials in English and Spanish, and then being prepared to build those materials in other languages depending on the city and the region and the community. We have identified a media partner, and they have a media plan for us and media buys and all that kind of stuff. So those are the things we're handling. What we're trying to do is identify, go and lift up the ACP in markets where there are enrollment partners already active on the ground, and we want to direct traffic to you and make sure that everybody who is learning about the ACP also knows about the work that you're doing, and potentially if you're doing any other digital inclusion support. So if you're not only signing people up for ACP, but you're also helping people like train to use the internet or train on devices or help them access devices, or any other digital inclusion support. Ideally, that would be the kind of partner we're looking to support. It's a pretty symbiotic relationship, and it's one that I think will take a little bit of pre-planning for us to actually get off the ground. So right now, what we're looking for partners is just like a little bit of a conversation to understand what your capacity is, what kind of enrollment activity you're actually participating in, where you're located, and what are the resources that you're offering ACP eligible folks. And then we'll sort of go from there and, see if where you are is where we'll head next with our campaign.
Thank you so much. Back to you, Linda.
Great, thank you. There were some great questions, Nelson, from the audience, and thank you, Amina and Kayla, for hanging in there and answering all of those questions. Again, I want to thank AT&T for the funds to do this project and to reach each and every one of you. As I stated earlier, the webinar is being recorded. You should receive a link to the recording no later than tomorrow afternoon. When you receive that link, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free, and it would help us continue to bring you these great webinars. Let me tell you about a couple of events that we are hosting. Beginning on July the 12th, Consumer Action will host a series of 4 webinars on home ownership, wealth creation, connection. The series will focus on ways to build wealth and gain security through home ownership. So, and if you haven't received an invite to that webinar, hit me up and I'll make sure you get a VIP invite. On August the 30th, we're hosting a webinar on smartphone warranties, what every consumer should know. Look for the invite in your inbox by July the 1st. We have great speakers coming in from the FTC and Consumer Reports. I also need you to circle November the 16th on your calendar and save that date so you can help us celebrate 51 years in business by joining our free virtual convening, which will look for ways in which lawmakers and community organizations can work together to eradicate housing insecurity and achieve equal access to credit. It's going to be a blast, so make sure that you join us. A special thanks to our amazing speakers. Please join me in sending them the love. We appreciate them taking time out of their busy schedule to share their expertise with us. Uh, and and if you are interested in contributing to consumer action, you can do so online by credit card or PayPal, or you could just simply mail us a check. It's okay. You can mail it to Consumer Action Attention Membership Giving at 57 Post Street, Suite 611, San Francisco, California, and put in the note section ACP webinar. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience. You've been the best audience with the best questions ever. I look forward to welcoming you back on July the 12th for our first series of home ownership, the Wealth Creation Connection. It's going to be a blast. I look for you there. Please enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye for now.